Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Drea. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you, everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
We'll bring you the expert interviews, insightful discussions, and practical tips to make motherhood a little easier and help your family thrive.
Please keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to replace the advice, diagnosis, or treatment plans you have with your personal healthcare team. Please have a conversation with your trusted healthcare provider prior to making any changes or implementing any strategies or advice you learn from this podcast.
Whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Here at the Motherhood Alliance podcast, we challenge the status quo, ask the tough questions, and offer a supportive community for moms who want to make an informed, holistic choice.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Let's get started. Hi, we are Brit and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Dawn from Soteria Wellness Holistic Therapies. We learned so much from Dawn in our 4 episodes together, including tips for prioritizing self-care and the power of massage therapy in episode 1, the surprising benefits of bodywork for kids of all ages, including special needs, in episode 2. Then in episode 3, we talk about how much breast health matters, and she gives some expert tips for cancer prevention. And then in part 4, we talk about exploring holistic therapies by thinking outside the box, maybe some therapies that you haven't heard before. These were all amazing and very, very insightful discussions. But a little bit about Dawn. She is a national board certified and Wisconsin licensed massage and bodywork therapist who holds advanced certifications as a craniosacral therapy diplomat. She's a prenatal, postpartum, and infant massage therapist, an advanced metacupping practitioner, a LymphStar technician, and a level 4 touch for healing specialized kinesiology practitioner. Woo! She is incredibly smart. She has so many certifications, and she really knows what she's talking about. She is also an internationally accredited emotional freedom technique, or EFT practitioner, and a certified essential emotions coach. Dawn began her journey working with parents and babies as a home daycare provider, natural childbirth teacher, La Leche League leader, and doula while homeschooling her 3 children. I would say superwoman right there. In 2009, after seeing the profound pain relief that craniosacral therapy brought her mom, she began her journey into the world of bodywork and massage therapy with an early emphasis on working with growing families. Soteria's motto is enhancing optimal health throughout the lifespan, and Dawn loves working with all ages, from infants to elders. She loves to empower individuals and families with tools for natural wellness and truly believes in the body's innate ability to heal itself when given the right support. When Dawn is not in the office, she enjoys practicing what she preaches about self-care, receiving regular bodywork, reading, spending an abundance of time in nature, and hanging out with friends and her 3 adult children and their partners. All right, we can't wait for you to learn from Dawn, so let's dive into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Motherhood Alliance podcast. Today we are excited to welcome Dawn from Soteria Wellness Holistic Therapies. Welcome, Dawn. We're excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So we always like to ask someone a fun fact, and you shared that you love doing nature photography. So tell us how you found a love of that and maybe some experiences.
Sure. Well, I was fortunate enough that I grew up in a camping family. So we spent a lot of time outdoors. My parents would save up, and every couple of years we would go on a cross-country camping trip, load up 5 kids and dogs in the back of a station wagon, and go on an adventure. And my mom enjoyed photography, so I picked it up from a pretty young age, and we tried to kind of carry on that tradition with my kids. And one of my best memories was actually waking up on my 40th birthday before anybody else and sneaking out with my camera and watching the sunrise over Bryce Canyon. And it was just absolutely glorious.
My goodness, that had to be amazing.
Is there a favorite thing? You like sunrises or birds or animals or plants? What's your favorite things? All of it?
It truly is. I love exploring new areas, and I love the familiar and, doing macro photography of flowers and plants and bugs and things to the landscapes. I just love every part of it. It's so fun for me.
Oh man, that's amazing.
So when you put a book together someday, you let me know and I'll buy it so I can see all the beautiful nature that you've taken pictures of. Well, we are so excited to have you here because you really are a master of so many alternative therapies and maybe even a bunch that people have not heard of. And so we're excited in this 4-part series to dive into many of those and learn from you. But first in this episode, we want to talk about how self-care isn't actually selfish. It's about replenishing yourself, but also in today's world, oftentimes people, I think it's moms specifically, are often feeling guilty when it comes to doing self-care, and or maybe it's too much of a buzzword where people are using it so often that people don't really understand what it means. So how would you define self-care?
In its simplest forms, taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
I think we overcomplicate it. I think we can overthink it sometimes. And depending on what stage of the motherhood journey we're in, self-care might mean you made time to actually brush your teeth before 2:00 in the afternoon.
No kidding. Right.
And, I remember those days very well. And as a young mother, I was so immersed in my mothering that I often did not carve out even those, little moments. And it had a really profound effect on my own health and my own well-being down the road. It caught up to me.
Yeah. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Like your story a little bit and how you
Sure.
came to the self-care, realization and maybe how it's really impacted your what you do.
Mm-hmm. So I knew that I wanted to parent differently than I was parented. And so I think I almost went to the opposite extreme in terms of being extra available, extra attentive, that kind of thing. And to the point of sometimes neglecting myself. Whether it was taking time even to just, read a fun book or walk the dog by myself instead of having everybody else along, when there were times I could have done that. And in some ways, it was like I became less of me, or my whole identity was in being a mom. And it was kind of an eye-opening thing as I started dealing with more aches and pains and things very early on in my life, in my late 20s already. And eventually, a doctor telling me, oh, well, you should go see a rheumatologist. It might be this, it might be that. But that didn't really land with me because of my mom's health journey and seeing what some of the medications from some of the things they were suggesting had done to her. I knew I didn't want to walk that path. And so I started doing more exploration into more natural things. And one of the things that I started coming across is just that importance of actually taking care of myself and not just taking care of my family and my parents who were aging.
So this was when your kids were little that you started looking into different therapy options?
It really was.
I'm assuming the opportunities have grown a lot even since then. So what were the top alternative therapies that you were finding at the time that could help you?
At the time, it was just some simple things. I found a meditation program that aligned with my spiritual beliefs. And I would get up before the kids and, just listen to this audio and just take that time to reset my day, or take time to, read for 15 minutes, or sometimes go and take the dog for a walk by myself. And just, I love my kids dearly. And sometimes it's nice to also have a little quiet and, to start honoring that a little more.
And I love how you're already saying that self-care doesn't need to be, there's so many amazing different types of therapies out there, but it doesn't need to be something you need to go see a specialist for even. There's so many things you can do in your own home to help yourself. Specifically, if we're talking about the topic of self-care, like you just said about taking a walk or reading a book or maybe taking a bath or taking a nap or just prioritizing your nutrition or your sleep, right? There's so many different things. One thing that I think as a mom myself I've experienced, but also from talking to so many fellow moms, is that there's the guilt piece of self-care, of taking away from your family. But then there's also the overwhelm of being like, it feels like just another thing on my checklist and I'm already failing at checking off so many boxes. So do you have your top 3, maybe 4, maybe 2, whatever it is, of the ones that you feel like help you the most in your journey. Maybe simple, like ones that are easy to implement. Where would somebody start?
For me, one of the biggest quick shifts that doesn't take any financial investment, very little time, was learning to focus on gratitude every day in some way, shape, or form. There were seasons when I actually wrote it down. There were seasons I would just prioritize doing that in my head, or just noticing throughout the day, hey, this is really cool, and I'm just so thankful for this. And, it's just beautiful in terms of taking that moment to pause and notice and be grateful.
Yeah, I love that. Any other top ones come to mind for you?
I'm a bath person. I love getting into a tub with some essential oils and, Epsom salts or magnesium flakes and just soaking. That didn't happen as often as, it could have when I had young kids, because like you said, you get into the not just the guilt, but the exhaustion. By the time the kids were all in bed, it's like, okay, if I go in there, I'm going to fall asleep, and that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I love that. What about your top 1, 2, or 3 therapies where someone could go and seek help from an expert like you that's going to make the most difference in their life, whether it's from a stress perspective or relaxation perspective or gratitude perspective? What are some therapies that you would recommend for someone who is just really struggling to take any time for them? Someone who's maybe like, I need to get out of the house and somewhere to go if I'm going to focus on myself.
Absolutely. Massage and body work obviously is a huge one for me. And it's kind of interesting because I actually never had a massage until I was required to have one to go to massage school.
Really?
Because I did not take that time, and I would not take that money out of the family finances to do that. And when there were some changes in the Wisconsin licensing, I was practicing as a craniosacral therapist, but in order to continue practicing, I would need a massage license. So it kind of nudged me into massage school. It was on my list of things to do, but it nudged the timing up. I had to go get a massage, and I was absolutely horrified by the idea.
Why?
Really?
Just somebody else?
Well, yeah, somebody is seeing my body and touching my body and like not having clothes on. It's like, no, craniosacral therapy we do with clothes on. I'm okay with that. So there was like a lot of self-image stuff.
Oh, sure.
That was also a roadblock for me. But it's like, well, I just have to suck it up and do this to get through school. Well,
I mean, that has been a blessing in your life then.
Oh, it has been a huge blessing. And it's also given me a lot of compassion, for, other, women or people in general, right, who are maybe struggling with body image issues and, understanding that, it may not be comfortable for them. And so what are options, that we can provide that you can have great body work and have your clothes on?
Yeah. So on the topic of massage, I feel like most women think about, oh, it's going to cost quite a bit of money, but it's going to be like, I'll feel relaxed for those 60 or 90 minutes, but then I'm like back to reality. But you also mentioned body work. So what's the difference between like what you would normally think of as a relaxation massage versus body work? Is there a difference there?
There is. So body work is more of an overarching term. So it can include massage. It can include therapies like craniosacral therapy, myofascial release, orthobionomy. The list is endless. There's many other different types of body work. And they each kind of have their unique benefits to them, but the overarching theme often has to do with reduction in pain, reduction in stress, hormonal balance. When you start bringing some of those stress hormones into balance, if you're more, pain relief focused, that often can be a long-lasting result of sometimes regular body work. Sometimes we have tremendous results in 1 or 2 sessions. And, an issue that's been bothering someone for years can just fade away. It's not always, I'm going to have to, if I start this, I have to do it every week, so I'm not going to start. It's not always like that.
Yeah. How long does it take? Like if somebody, obviously, if you're having pain or if you're having some kind of issues or stress, obviously it can take some time. How long would you say, would people feel like they have results right away? Or do you think it might take a month? Or how often do people come to get body work done?
It totally varies. Sometimes people will come a little more frequently initially to get on top of, especially an acute situation. And they enjoy it and are seeing so many other benefits that they keep coming back regularly, whether it's every 4 weeks or 6 weeks or once a quarter or every year when I get that gift card for my birthday. So I think it is a very individual thing in terms of what's going to fit your lifestyle, your budget, your priorities, and what else you're doing for that self-care. If people are, stretching and things like that on a regular basis, they might not have as much physical need for, the massage.
So I have a question about body work specifically is obviously while you're there and you're stepping away from maybe the chaos of home, you're going to find some nice relaxation and you're going to find some stress relief in the moment. But what are some like longer term benefits of body work? So that are going to last, whether it's a day, a week, a month, especially if you're doing it on a consistent basis. What are the long term benefits?
Ooh, great question. Decrease in stress and anxiety is huge for a lot of moms in particular. Enhanced sleep quality, of course, if you have a newborn, all bets are off, or a toddler, or somebody sick. But overall, it can improve sleep quality, greater energy. We think about massage, body work for relaxation, but we can also do things with more of a focus on improving energy and stamina for people who are more athletic. Not only helping after an injury, but injury prevention by keeping those muscles in a healthy, balanced tone is very, very important. Improved concentration, reduce fatigue. You're improving the circulation in your body, especially when you're doing things on a regular basis. And a lot of times we'll show you some things that you can do at home too. A big piece of what we do is really about empowering individuals and families with tools for natural wellness. It's not just come in and get a massage and go away. It's how do we incorporate healthy living into our lifestyle in a way that's manageable.
Now, I've heard you just personally in our other conversations talk about lymphatic system too and how body work can support that. Can you share a little bit more about why that's important? What is the lymphatic system and then how does body work support it?
So our lymphatic system is one of the most under-talked about and important systems in our body. And, when I talk about increased circulation, I'm talking about increased blood flow. I'm also talking about increased lymphatic flow. So our lymphatic vessels run kind of alongside our blood vessels, but they don't have their own pump. So we have to be the pump. Our muscles have to be the pump. So exercise, walking, movement is a way that we do that. But there are some areas in our body that we might not be moving on a regular basis. So that lymphatic fluid can get kind of congested. I think about it as if, say, honey or maple syrup that starts to kind of harden and crystallize, and it's already very thick. And most of our lymphatic vessels are about the size of a strand of uncooked spaghetti. Some of them are as fine as a hair. So if you trying to imagine something sticky and thick through something that tiny, it could take a little bit of work. But what do we do if we, spill some honey and it sits out and it's hardening? We get it wet, we get it moving, and we get it warm. Right? We maybe get a warm washcloth or whatever. And in a sense, when we start doing manual therapy that's going to benefit our lymphatic system, or we go for a walk, or we get on a rebounder, or we do things like that, we're promoting that lymphatic flow and helping to clear things out.
Yeah, well, and especially in our fairly sedentary world. I mean, like you said, well, and then if we're talking moms specifically, especially if you're talking about younger kids, you're in survival mode, so you may be chasing them a lot, but you may also be feeling a little stuck in maybe ways that you used to move your body. So this is another way that body work could really help that, because you're just really helping to move all that lymph throughout the system, right? And keep everything running smoothly.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so key to our immune health.
Yeah, that's another great point. So let's dive in really quick, since we're talking about body work, to the benefits of prenatal massage. What benefits would it have for mom or baby? Is that something that you recommend for women when they're pregnant? Tell us about that phase of life.
100% yes. And we do work with moms from first trimester on. I know some therapists will not do that, but we are trained as certified massage therapists in the prenatal realm, postpartum work. So we do work through all stages. If there are complications, we would like to see a letter from your midwife or doctor, your practitioner, that it is okay to do body work. But so much help with issues like sciatica, low back pain, even the hormonal balance, because when we're pregnant, it fluctuates. We're all over the place. So it can kind of help with some of those mood swings that are more hormonally related. It can help with just the general aches and pains. The center of gravity changes in your body during pregnancy. So we're straining and stressing different muscle groups that we maybe weren't doing prenatally. So it's just super, super helpful. It can help to reduce some of the inflammation and the edema and the swelling of pregnancy as we get that lymphatic system moving a little more effectively as well, which is going to mean, less swelling in the hands, less swelling in the feet, more comfort in general as you're going through that stage of life.
Are there any benefits for the baby? I mean, it seems, mom and baby are connected, but when you're talking about body work, it seems like it would be affecting mom's body. Does any of that transfer to the baby?
Oh, 100%. Because of all of those stress hormones in mom's body, baby is exposed to those too. So if we can help mom feel comfortable in her own skin and relaxed and experiencing those times of calm, baby is getting those signals too.
Yeah. And I assume it would also help with birth too, right? So
Absolutely.
like prepping the body for birth and getting things loosened up, basically, helping with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, some moms will come in early and then stop coming later. And it's like, oh, you are missing out.
Do you have like if somebody came in, they're like, hey, I'm pregnant, I want to do this thing. Do you have like a set schedule or like a recommended schedule, I should say, for most women when they come in?
Most women initially might come in every 4 to 6 weeks. And then as that center of gravity is changing and they're feeling a little more discomfort starting somewhere around the middle of pregnancy, they might like to start coming in a little more often. Some women towards the end of pregnancy, they might want to come in, every couple of weeks or even every week towards the very end.
That would be wonderful. I can just remember my pregnancy. That would be wonderful.
Yes. And we do belly work as well during pregnancy, which is so relieving just because of some of those muscles that are getting so stretched and so uncomfortable, and we can work through those rib muscles that are getting so stretched towards the end. And sometimes we have caregivers referring moms to come see us because mom's getting past her due date. And obviously it's not like we can do an induction massage or something like that, but we can do things to encourage the body to get ready, to encourage baby to feel ready to come out. I think there's, it's not just there's signaling from the baby, there's signaling from the placenta, there's signaling from mom that all have to come together. And one of the biggest things that can inhibit those signals is high stress.
Yeah, for sure. What about the postpartum period? So baby is born now. What is your recommendation on when a mom should first come in, or what are the benefits of doing some body work in the postpartum period?
One of the biggest benefits I see has to do with any of those aches and pains afterwards. And when you have a newborn, how much of your life is spent looking down at this precious new little person in your arms? And so all of a sudden, some of those aches and pains from being pregnant might have faded away on their own a little bit. Not always, depending on how the birth went. And now it's the neck and the shoulders and the jaw, and everything else gets so tight and uncomfortable that massage and body work can be super helpful. Craniosacral therapy, orthobiotomy, things like that can be very, very helpful if there's some balancing that needs to happen because of how the birth went as well. So a lot of it, we'll work with moms that have the baby right in the room with them, kind of snuggled up on a blanket on the floor, or maybe they'll bring, their partner or grandma or a friend to be with the baby in the other room in case they're needed. If they're like, oh, I won't be able to relax if baby's actually in the room with me. Some moms are like, I won't be able to relax if baby is not in the room with me. And you know what? It's fine. Either way, we're very, very family friendly. We're breastfeeding friendly. We want to honor wherever you are in your parenting journey and make sure that you're also getting the care that you need as a new mom.
Yeah, I love that. That's so beautiful. I wish Drea and I are going to say this forever and always, but everything that we learn, the older we get, the more we wish we would have known about when our kids were young. So we're hoping that this helps those families that are in that specific season. And if you're past that season, like Drea and I have school-age kids now, just make sure you listen into the next episode because we are going to be talking about pediatrics, anywhere from infants all the way up to teenagers, and how specific therapies, whether it's body work or other things that Dawn is a specialist in, can support those years as well. So make sure you listen in to that episode coming up. Now, going back to the self-care piece, body work is going to be a huge piece, which, like we talked about, that can be more than massage too. And there's so many benefits. Like everything you said about lymph is like mind-blowing, right? So many people are not talking about that. So we are also going to be diving into additional alternative therapies that may help you on your self-care journey in our 4th episode together as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So Dawn, where can people connect with you if they want to learn more?
Our website is soteriawellnessllc.com. And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram if you are searching for Soteria Wellness.
Awesome. And I think you have another event coming up as well where people can learn more about everything that Soteria offers. Is that correct?
Yes, September 25th, we'll be hosting our Who We Are, What We Do event, which part of it is a little bit kind of structured PowerPoint, just going through on a little deeper level some of the things that we offer. And part of it is the opportunity to kind of, tour the facilities, see some of the different equipment and things that we use that's maybe a little more out of the box. And just to get your questions answered and what might be a good fit for me, or where do I start, or this is also cool, I'm overwhelmed. So we can help you set up a plan.
I love that. That sounds like an amazing event, because I think if any listeners are like me, where you want to become an expert in so many of these areas and walk confidently in your health and wellness journey, but you hear little tidbits about each of these different types of therapies, Dawn is going to be an awesome resource, and that's going to be a great event to go and ask as many questions as you want. One thing we do want to mention is that any listeners for this podcast, you can receive 5% off any item in Dawn's wellness store. So if you would like to take advantage of that, just contact Dawn through her website and mention the Motherhood Alliance podcast. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode, Dawn. This was so enlightening and encouraging.
Thank you so much, Brittany and Drea.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time, and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.